Hello and welcome to New IAS. This is our sixth video in the series of Prelims PYQ discussions where we discuss all the questions from Prelims 2014 to 2023. Today we have Buddhist history as our theme and we have two questions for discussion. One question is from the 2023 Prelims, which is very latest, and the question is, with reference to ancient India, consider the statements. So you have the modern option combination, that is only one, only two, only all three, and none. So number of right statements is what matters to us. You have three statements. The first statement is the concept of stupa is Buddhist in origin. The second is stupa was generally a repository of relics. Third, stupa was a votive and commemorative structure in Buddhist tradition. Now, when you have three statements like this, you have to check the merit of each statement. Whichever is correct qualifies for the answer. Look at the first statement. The concept of stupa is Buddhist in origin. Now, stupa is something that is very generic, something where relics are kept. Now, can it be something that is exclusively Buddhist in origin? There is possibility and there is a skepticism as well. Because if you take architecture like that, everything is inspired from something else. If you take the dome, it is inspired from the stupas. If you take something like a Indo-Islamic architecture, it is inspired from something Persian architecture. If you take the Gandhara art, it is inspired from Indian as well as Greco-Roman effects. So just like this, architecture and art is inspired from something else, something that predates that. So we can always have a skepticism with something like this. So this first statement may or may not be correct. The second statement, stupa was generally a repository of relics. It's a very general statement. Logically, it is consistent. It says generally a repository. So it is very fluid. It can be. So we know that stupa is a repository of relics. When you say it is generally, it's 100% correct. So one statement is correct. Third statement, stupa was votive and commemorative in Buddhist tradition. Commemorative means it is to keep memories. Yes, that's true. Ashoka did it to keep the memory of Buddha. Second, it is votive. Votive means ritualistic, something that is done for a purpose. Yes, that is also true because it has a religious significance as well with respect to Buddhism. So this statement is also correct. Now you have problem with the first statement. Now if this is the case, the last option, which is none, and the first option is eliminated. Now either 3 are correct or 2 are correct. Here, as I've told you, exclusivity can be questioned. It can be anything that predates this as well. So let's take it on the negative sides and let's go for this option, which is only 2. And if you look at the answer key, that's the right answer. If the first option, which is the origin of the Buddhist architecture of stupa, predates it. The concept predates it. The practice of preserving remains of important personalities is below accumulated earth was long in existence. Obviously, it will be something that predates it because ever since human civilization evolved, people used to do such things. When it comes to option B, I've told you about the example of Ashoka. Buddha's body was divided into 8 parts and was placed under different stupas. So it has an element of that as well. And finally, the stupa has many purposes. One is honoring important events, honoring individuals, marking historical locations. So the statement that it has a votive and commemorative purpose also stands valid. So as a result, option B and C is correct, option A is wrong. Now let's come to the second question. It gives you a combination, it's a pair. You have one person on one side, the nature or the contribution of that person on the other side. Then the same option combination, among which you have to choose the right pairs. First you have Aryadeva, given against him is a Jaina scholar. Second you have Dignaga, against him Buddhist scholar. Third, you have Nathamuni, against him you have Vaishnava scholar. Now, among these 3 people, Nathamuni is something that you should know because he is the one who has written Nalayiram Divya Prabandham. So, Nalayiram Divya Prabandham is a very common textbook when it comes to the Bhakti school of thought or Vaishnavism, and this is something that you can come up with. If that is the case, one statement is correct and option A can be eliminated. Second, Dignaga. Dignaga is a famous Buddhist scholar, but it is unlikely that someone knows it very specifically. But when it comes to Aryadeva, you are supposed to know it if you know something like called Madhyama philosophy. So you should know that Buddhist scholar called Nagarjuna. He is the one who has evolved the Madhyama philosophy. That is something UPSC has asked as well. If that is the case, You should know the philosophy in its entirety, and Aryadeva is the second most important figure in that philosophy. So this can be negated because Aryadeva is a Buddhist scholar. If that can be negated, all three pairs will also be wrong. Now this is a factual statement. We have to look at the answer key for that. And Dignaga is someone who is a logician, Buddhist logician, who has written the book Paramana Samuchaya. So this book and this person is something for you to by heart because it can be asked in the future as well. Paramana Samuchaya is the book written by Dignaga, who is a logician. So he laid the foundation for something called the Buddhist logic. And it was later developed by a person called Dharmakirti, this Buddhist logic. So the whole idea of a Buddhist logic and the people associated with it is something that you should know. I've already told you about Nath Muni. His other name is Ranganatha Muni, and he is the one who has written Nalayana Divya Prabandha. Now let's come to Madhyamaka philosophy, and the first person who is Aryadeva. I've told you about Nagarjuna. He is the most important figure in Madhyamaka school. He developed it, and later it was carried forward by this person called Aryadeva. He was one among the elders, Thera. Thera is an important concept in Buddhism because Thera means elder. You have a school of thought called the Theravada, or the school of the elders. Now Aryadeva is someone who is also associated with Nalanda monastery. You can keep that as a fact for yourself. Now that's it. If you look at this question as a whole, you have one obvious option, which is Nath Muni. If you had some idea about Madhyamaka philosophy, you could have got this option as well. Then it becomes a little factual. So you have questions of mixture of both conceptual clarity, fundamentals, as well as factual knowledge. We'll come up with another topic in another video. Thank you for listening.